The show may be over, but in today's video, I'm gonna go over the best audio gear that I experienced at CanJam SoCal 2025. I was also there at the show specifically to look for headphone amps that could power my new Tungsten V2 headphones, which are really hard to drive. So I'm definitely gonna be showing lots of headphone amps in this video. If you guys are interested in any of the products I will be showing in this video, I will try to leave links down in the video description down below. So here you can see the main showroom floor with the audio table setups. I got there early on Saturday, but the space definitely filled up on that day. So first stop is the topping audio booth. And I got to check out the DX9 discrete DAC and headphone amp combo. And this DAC and amp combo looks amazing. As you see here, the glowing orange on top and the nice displays in the front of the DAC amp. It also had more than enough juice to power my Tungsten V2 headphones. This would be something that I'd love to see on my desktop. However, we don't know what the price is yet. I also got to experience the DX5 2 DAC and amp, which also was powerful enough to power the Tungstens, but didn't sound anywhere as nice as the DX9. Next up was the Apple's audio room, where I got to check out the flagship topping D900 DAC and A900 amp. They both come with the new topping screen design and have very good synergy. While this stack sounded very good, the price is a bit high at $1,200 for the amp and $1,800 for the DAC, setting you back $3,000 for both. Size of them is also a bit large, and the amp had no trouble powering my Tungsten V2s, as well as making them sound great. Also in the Apple's audio room was the older topping D90 and A90 DAC and amp, and while it was powerful enough to power my Tungstens, it didn't sound nearly as good as the D900 and A900 stack. Also, the design looks quite dated when you compare it to Topping's new design, so if you are looking into buying these, I recommend that you go for the newer D70 and A70 Pro DAC and amp instead, that has that new design. Next up is one of the staples of CanJam that everyone must visit. It's the Schiit audio booth, where you get to see so much different gear at different price points, and all the stuff there sounds great. I got to try out the new Yulong 3 headphone amp that will be released soon and starting at just $499. I also got to preview the optional mesh stack with Forkbeard, and it was great to be able to control the DAC card settings using Forkbeard on an app that was on a tablet right next to the amp. You can control things like EQ, loudness, and non-oversampling mode. Although the Yulong was able to power my Tungsten V2, I felt like it didn't give me enough headroom in terms of the volume. I also tried out the Tungsten V1s, and I had to max out the volume on the Yulong 3 just to be able to listen to it at my listening preference in terms of volume. So if you have hard to drive headphones like the Tungstens, I definitely recommend that you go with the Milner amp instead, because that's gonna give you plenty of headroom, and the Milner amp made my Tungsten V2s sound incredible. The Milner is actually one of my top contenders to purchase for the Tungsten V2s because I really like how it sounded, and the price of it is not too bad, even though the size of the amp is bigger than I would like it to be. So Schiit Audio really has a lot of options at every price point. And with their new mesh DAC module with Forkbeard, it really provides for an all-in-one unit without adding too much more to the cost of the amplifier. Next up, we have the SJY Horizon closed carbon planar magnetic headphones coming in at $1,000. These look great and have excellent build quality, and they also sounded very good for a closed back planar. The ear pads alone are very nice. Definitely worth considering at the $1,000 price point. Now we have an all-in-one DAC amp and music streamer that really surprised me, the Yulong Audio Dart Asura. This thing has everything you need in a nice compact form factor. It's plain and simple with a nice screen and knob. Gives you all the connections you will actually use, like XLR, 4.4 balance, and 6.3 millimeters on balance right in front of you. Best of all, it sounded great, and you get a DAC, amp, and music streamer all for $1,300. I think that's a steal if you ask me. Next up is the DNA Alpha Pro DAC and amp, which was one of the cooler looking DAC amps that I saw at the show. It had a really distinctive look to it with its bright white LEDs. The amp portion sounded pretty good, although I did not have a lot of headroom when it came to the volume when listening to my Tungsten headphones. But this DAC and amp combo is definitely worth a look at, especially at the price point of $699. Definitely something worth considering. And looking at the Apple's audio room, they just had so many different prototypes. It was crazy just to see all the different things they had going on there. But one that really stood out was the speaker headphones. They actually sounded amazing. I mean, I could have stayed at that table and just listened to those headphones for hours. It just had a really interesting sound. It almost sounded like you were in a room listening to speakers. And this was actually one of the coolest things I heard at the show. Next up, we have a very cool DIY type of build, which is the Gremlin tube amp and the Merlin DAC from Apples Audio. At only $120 for the Gremlin tube amp. That is an insane price point that gets you access to that nice tube amp sound. And you can even swap out the tubes if you wanted to. The addition of the stackable Merlin DAC at $195 to make it an all-in-one solution is also really nice. This is definitely a great setup if you are on a budget. Next up at the Audeze booth is the LCD S20 closed back planar headphones. Thanks for modeling them, Ryan. So these headphones were one of the more impressive sounding headphones at CanJam. I mean, I really like the sound signature of these closed back planars. When you have them on, it doesn't even sound like they are closed back headphones. They have almost the same chassis design as the Audeze MM100, and at $499, they are definitely worth a look at if you are in the market for closed back planars under $1,000. The Sennheiser booth provided for listening to many classic headphones as well as new ones. One of these new headphones that stood out in particular is that of the HD550. I just love the sound signature on these. That traditional Sennheiser veil is lifted on these in favor of a new sound signature that provides for both good detailed treble as well as plenty of bass for these open back headphones. I did also get to hear the HC505 copper headphones, but I didn't enjoy those as much as I did the HD550 and thought that the treble was too sharp on the 505s and they also didn't have enough bass for my liking. Now at the Hi-Fi Man booth, where I got to listen to the new HC600 and Ananda unveiled headphones. To my surprise, the HC600s didn't sound good at the Hi-Fi Man booth, and I think that the DAC amp pairing was not right for these headphones, as these seem to thrive when used with high-powered amps. Luckily, they had the HC600s at the Headamp and Bloom audio rooms, and the HC600 sounded excellent with the DAC and amp setups they had in those rooms. In particular, the much more powerful amps that were used. The headphones definitely had a lot of punch in the bass and sounded good. But back to the Hi-Fi Man booth, where I got to hear the Ananda Unveiled headphones, and these all around sounded great. And at only $549, these sounded just as good as $1,000 plus headphones. So the Ananda Unveiled are definitely worth a look at if you're looking for planar magnetic open back headphones. Next up is the FiiO booth, where they have so much great stuff there. The new JT7 headphones sounded great. These are planar magnetic headphones. They don't have a price for them yet, but I did hear them mention that it will be somewhere around $150, which is a great price for how they sound. But the absolute best value headphones I heard at CanJam were the JT3s. And while they use dynamic drivers, they sounded great. And I had to ask them twice about the price because at $77, these are just absolutely the best headphones that you can pick up for under $100. This is going to be one of those headphones that I will recommend to everyone looking for a budget headphone. And finally, of course, there's the very popular FiiO FT1 Pro planar magnetic headphones that cost around $220. These were good as well, although I did like the JT7s better than the FT1 Pro.